Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We love diving deep into all sorts of fascinating topics, but today we're going beyond the world of ones and zeros.
Yeah, forget the bits and bytes for a minute.
We're cracking the code of something even more intricate, human behavior.
That's right. Today we're all about human hacking.
Okay, I'm already intrigued. When we say human hacking, what exactly are we talking about?
Think social engineering, that is, the art of manipulating people, using psychological tactics to get them to reveal confidential information.
Or to do things they would normally do, right?
Exactly. It's about exploiting the human element, which is, let's face it, often the weakest link in any system.
This is starting to sound like something straight out of a spy movie. Where do we even begin to unpack this?
Well, let's start with the basics. One fundamental technique is what we call elicitation.
Elicitation, huh? Sounds fancy.
Think of it like this. It's the art of extracting information without raising suspicion, like a conversational detective.
Ooh, I like that. So it's not about barging in and demanding passwords?
No, it's much more subtle than that. It's about guiding the conversation, asking seemingly harmless questions.
Almost like you're playing dumb.
Exactly. You might feign ignorance to encourage the other person to overshare. Start with a broad topic and then slowly zero in on what you're really after.
That's clever, but kind of scary too.
It is, yeah. The scary part is you might not even realize you're being played. They analyze your every response, looking for any opening to exploit.
Yikes. Okay, so how do we avoid falling into these traps? What are the red flags we should be watching out for?
Well, first and foremost, be wary of anyone who's asking for sensitive information, especially if you don't know and trust them.
Even if they seem super friendly, like they're just trying to be helpful.
Especially then. Social engineers are masters of building rapport. They know that if they can get you to like them...
You're more likely to let your guard down. Makes sense.
Exactly. So it's not just about being suspicious of strangers. It's also about being cautious with people we might already know. And always verify requests for information.
Good point. Doesn't matter who's asking.
Nope. A quick phone call or email to the supposed source can save you a lot of trouble down the line.
That's good advice. Now, what about those security questions we always get asked when setting up online accounts? Like your mother's maiden name or your first pet's name.
Oh, those are classic targets for elicitation. A social engineer can use that info to reset your passwords or gain access to your accounts.
So should we just lie on those security questions then?
Lying can be risky. You might forget the lie you used. A better approach is to use a password manager. It generates and stores strong, unique passwords for each of your accounts.
Okay, so even if someone does manage to get hold of that personal info.
They still can't access your accounts. Layers of defense.
Got it. So we've talked about elicitation that's gathering the intel. What happens next in a typical social engineering attack?
Often, the next step is what we call pretexting.
Pretexting. Lay it on me.
This is where the social engineer creates a believable scenario, a whole new identity, even to gain your trust.
So it's not just lying. It's like they're becoming a character in a movie.
Exactly. They might spend weeks, months even, researching their target, learning about their habits, their vulnerabilities.
All to craft a persona that seems totally legit.
Yeah, that's some serious dedication.
Oh, yeah. And the more convincing their story, the easier it is to bypass security measures.
So how might this play out in a real-life attack? Give us an example.
Okay, imagine someone wants to infiltrate a company headquarters. They could pose as a delivery person, a janitor, even a fire inspector.
Blending in, becoming part of the system. Sneaky.
Exactly. They're exploiting the trust that people have in those roles. They might even use a combination of physical and psychological tactics.
Like what?
Like dropping a USB drive with malware, hoping someone picks it up.
Oh, that's devious. It makes you realize how easily we can be tricked.
We really can. And pretexting is incredibly versatile. It becomes even more effective when combined with other techniques, like elicitation.
So how do we protect ourselves from falling for these elaborate schemes? Always verify identities. Don't be afraid to ask for identification, check credentials.
Even if they seem totally legit.
Especially then. Social engineers can forge badges, create fake websites, even impersonate real people. Never assume someone is who they say they are.
Trust, but verify. Okay, I'm getting it. Awareness seems to be our best defense.
Absolutely. Be mindful of your surroundings, pay attention to who's watching you, and if you see anything suspicious, don't hesitate to report it.
Like if I see someone tailgating me through a secure door, or just loitering in an area they shouldn't be.
Exactly. It's always better to be safe than sorry.
All right, I'm taking notes here. But what if I'm not sure if someone's legit. Like, I get a call from someone claiming to be from my bank.
Never, ever give out sensitive information over the phone unless you initiated the call.
Oh, good point.
Hang up and call the company back using a number from their website or a recent statement.
That's a great tip. Now, what about emails? How can we tell if an email is legit or a phishing attempt?
Be wary of any unsolicited emails.
Especially the ones asking me to click links or open attachments.
Exactly. And be careful about giving out personal information.
Even if it looks like it's from a company I do business with.
Especially then, phishing emails are getting incredibly sophisticated.
Mm.
They can mimic legitimate organizations perfectly.
Wow. So how can we tell?
Hover over any links before clicking to see the actual URL. That can help you spot fake websites.
Okay, I'm learning so much today. What about social media? Any special precautions we should take there?
Definitely. Be cautious about friend requests from people you don't know.
Makes sense.
And be careful about what personal information you share online, even if your profile is private.
Oh, right, because social engineers can use all sorts of tricks to piece together information about us, right?
They can, and they do, and enable two-factor authentication on all your accounts.
That's that thing where they send a code to your phone?
Yep, it adds an extra layer of security.
Got it. Two-factor authentication? Check. Now let's talk about physical security. What about protecting ourselves from those trying to gain access to our homes or workplaces?
Always be aware of your surroundings, especially when entering or leaving buildings. Report any suspicious activity to security.
Oh, yeah.
And for your home, make sure your doors and windows are locked. You might even consider investing in a security system.
Solid advice. But what if we do find ourselves face-to-face with a potential social engineer? What can we do to de-escalate the situation?
Stay calm. Maintain a polite but firm demeanor, and don't be afraid to say no.
Even if they try to pressure me?
Especially if they try to pressure you, trust your gut. If something feels off, it probably is.
Okay, I'm starting to feel like I can spot a social engineer a mile away. But what if we do fall victim to an attack? What should we do then?
First, take a deep breath. Assess the situation.
And then?
Depending on what happened, you might need to contact your bank, credit card company, or the authorities.
Change passwords? Monitor accounts for suspicious activity? Report the incident.
Exactly. And remember, you're not alone. Social engineering is incredibly common these days. There are resources available to help you recover and prevent future attacks.
This has been a fascinating deep dive into human hacking.
It really is a field that's constantly evolving.
We've covered a lot of ground today, from elicitation and pretexting to all those practical tips for staying safe.
We sure have. But we're not done yet.
Oh, there's more.
Much more. In part 2, we'll explore even more techniques and delve even deeper into the psychology behind these attacks.
Can't wait.
Until then, stay curious and stay vigilant. Welcome back to the deep dive. We're picking up where we left off, exploring the fascinating world of social engineering.
Okay, I'm ready for more. Last time we talked about elicitation and pretexting, some pretty sneaky stuff.
Yeah, those are just the tip of the iceberg. Today, we're going to dive into a powerful psychological principle that social engineers use all the time.
Oh, this sounds intriguing. Hit me with it.
It's called framing.
Framing. Like putting a picture in a frame.
Not quite, though it is about presentation. Think of it as shaping perceptions.
Okay. I'm not sure I follow.
It's all about how information is presented. By carefully choosing their words, their tone, the context, social engineers can subtly nudge people towards a certain conclusion.
So it's about controlling the narrative.
Exactly. Influencing how people see things.
That sounds pretty manipulative.
It can be, and it's incredibly effective.
Can you give us an example of how this framing thing works in a real attack?
Sure. Let's say a social engineer wants to convince an employee to open a malicious email attachment. They might frame it as an urgent message from the CEO.
Oh, I see. Like, you absolutely have to read this right now.
Exactly. Creating a sense of urgency. Emphasizing the negative consequences of not reading it immediately.
That would definitely make me want to click on it. It plays on our curiosity.
It does. Another example is framing a request as a favor. Making it seem small and harmless.
Like, hey, can you do me a quick favor? I'm locked out of my account. Could you just log in for me real quick?
Precisely. Playing on our natural inclination to be helpful.
It's like they're disguising their true intentions. So how do we protect ourselves from this kind of psychological manipulation?
Be very aware of any communication that creates a sense of urgency or pressure or strong emotions.
Like those emails that scream, your account's been compromised. Click here to reset your password.
Exactly. Or those phone calls where scammers claim you owe money to the IRS. They prey on our fears to make us act irrationally.
It's so important to just stop and think before reacting.
Couldn't agree more. Verify the information, check the source, don't be afraid to ask questions, and always remember, if something sounds too good to be true.
It probably is.
Yeah.
Okay, framing. Got it. What other techniques should we be aware of?
Well, let's talk about social proof.
Social proof.
Yeah, it's a powerful principle that plays on our tendency to follow the crowd.
You mean like how we're more likely to do something if we see other people doing it?
Exactly. Think about online reviews. If you see a product with hundreds of positive reviews, you're more likely to trust it.
Right. Yeah, even if I've never heard of the brand before.
Exactly. And social engineers can exploit this.
Yeah.
They might use fake testimonials, bogus reviews, even manufacture a sense of scarcity or urgency.
Like those limited time offer things.
Exactly. It plays on our fear of missing out.
So it's not just about logic, they're tapping into our emotions, our instincts.
That's what makes it so effective. It bypasses our rational mind and targets our vulnerabilities.
This is all starting to feel a little overwhelming. How do we protect ourselves from this? From being swayed by social proof, I mean.
Be critical of what you see online, especially reviews and testimonials.
So don't just take things at face value.
Exactly. Look for independent verification, diverse opinions, and don't let the crowd dictate your decisions. Think for yourself.
Okay, take a breath, do my research, don't follow the herd. Got it. What else?
While we've covered framing, social proof, there's one more big one: authority.
Authority, you mean like respecting our elders?
Not exactly. More like people in positions of power. Police officers, doctors, someone in a uniform. We tend to trust and obey figures of authority.
Yeah, that makes sense. We're kind of conditioned to do that.
Right. And social engineers know this. They might impersonate authority figures to gain our trust.
Oh, that's sneaky.
Or use their real or assumed authority to pressure us, intimidate us into complying.
Can you give us an example?
Sure. Imagine someone calls you, claims to be from your bank's fraud department. Sounds all official, uses a bunch of banking jargon.
And we're more likely to give them our account info because we think they're there to help.
Exactly. Or someone might flash a fake ID badge to gain access to a restricted area. We often hesitate to question authority, even if something feels off.
So how do we protect ourselves?
Always verify authority. Don't be afraid to ask for identification, check credentials. Contact the organization directly to confirm someone's identity.
So we need to find a balance between respecting authority and being a little bit skeptical.
Exactly. Don't just blindly trust anyone. Trust your instincts, ask questions, verify everything.
Okay, I'm seeing a pattern here. Awareness, critical thinking, and verification are key. So we've covered elicitation, pretexting, framing, social proof, and authority. That's a lot.
It is, but they often work together. A social engineer might use a combination of techniques to create a multi-layered attack.
So it's not just about recognizing the individual techniques, it's about understanding how they can be combined to make a more convincing, more manipulative story.
Exactly. The more we understand about how these guys operate, the better equipped we'll be to protect ourselves, to spot those red flags.
Okay, I'm ready for more insights. What else do you have in store for us?
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We've been on quite a journey exploring the world of human hacking and all its tricks.
It's been an eye-opener for sure. But as unsettling as some of these techniques can be, there's also a flip side.
Oh, there's a positive spin to all this.
Absolutely. These same principles can be applied ethically. Wait, hold on. You're saying we can actually use social engineering for good?
Think about it. Social engineering is all about influence, right? Persuasion.
Yeah, but it's about manipulating people.
Well, yes and no. It's about understanding human behavior and using that knowledge to achieve an outcome. The outcome doesn't have to be malicious.
Okay, I'm starting to see where you're going with this. But how do we make sure we're using these techniques ethically?
Intent is everything. Are you using your knowledge to exploit someone or to build trust and create positive change?
That makes sense. So instead of tricking someone into revealing sensitive information, we could use elicitation too.
Build rapport. Imagine using open-ended questions to encourage someone to share their thoughts and feelings, or leading questions to gently guide them towards a solution.
Interesting. And instead of framing information to deceive someone, we could use it to
Highlight the positive. You could emphasize the benefits of a security policy rather than just focusing on the rules and restrictions.
I like that. Turn a negative into a positive. What about social proof? How could we use that ethically?
You could share stories of employees who successfully prevented phishing attacks. Highlight the positive impact of a strong security culture.
So instead of using the power of the crowd to manipulate people, we're using it to inspire them. What about authority? Can that be used ethically?
Absolutely. Security leaders can actively participate in awareness training, demonstrating their commitment to security and setting a good example for everyone else.
This is really shifting my perspective on social engineering. So it's not the techniques themselves that are good or bad.
It's all about how we use them.
Right. It's like any tool, it could be used for good or for evil.
Yeah.
So for someone who's interested in using these techniques ethically, where can they learn more?
There are tons of resources out there. Books, articles, workshops.
We'll include some links in the show notes.
Great. And remember, the best way to learn is to practice. Observe how others use these techniques, experiment with different approaches, but always be mindful of the impact you're having.
This has been an amazing conversation. It's been both fascinating and empowering to explore the world of human hacking.
I agree. It's crucial to understand these techniques, both to protect ourselves and to use them for good.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive, what are the key takeaways you want our listeners to remember?
Awareness is key. The more we understand about social engineering, the better equipped we'll be to navigate this complex world.
It's like having that secret decoder ring, right?
Exactly. And be proactive about your security. Don't make yourself an easy target.
Good advice. And finally, remember that social engineering is ultimately about human nature.
It preys on our vulnerabilities, but it also taps into our capacity for connection and trust.
We've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive, from the dark arts of manipulation to the power of ethical influence.
And hopefully our listeners are walking away with a better understanding of how to stay safe and use these techniques for good.
Until next time, stay curious, stay vigilant, and as always, stay safe out there.